tech is answering to the socialist left, and they should not be doing that. Listen, we're a country where the First Amendment is the most important amendment that we have and most important right that we have. And yes, there is misinformation out there, and we need to make sure that we get that cleared up. However, keep in mind early on, the big tech, the platforms were actually suppressing the idea, the possibility that of the origin of this vaccine. Now we know not only is it possible, not only is it probable, but it did indeed originate in the virology labs in Wuhan.
No. We don't know that. We don't know that, Congressman.
Where they were trying to suppress.
We do not know that. My reporting is that there are senior Biden administration officials who view it as just as credible as the theory it emerged from nature, but no one knows whether it emerged from a lab or from an animal to a human. So just want to make sure that we're clear on that. But going back to my question, do you think that misinformation in right-wing media and on social media sites, that it's killing people?
Well, look, the misinformation needs to be straightened out, but at the same time, we can't be dictating to these platforms what is misinformation and what is not misinformation. That is something that you get into the First Amendment and the suppression of free speech. That is something that the Biden administration is trying to do that they should not be trying to do. What is misinformation? That's in the eyes of the beholder there. I encourage everyone to get the vaccine. I think it's safe and effective. As a healthcare professional, I hope everyone will do it. But I'm not going to be suppressing our First Amendment rights in order to make sure that that happens. We have to get the information out there that it is safe and effective, that I'd rather have the vaccine than the virus, and that we need people to get the vaccine.
Okay, I want to share this video with you, Congressman. I think it's really important that you are using your position as someone with a medical background to speak out. This is a video of you attending a GOP event to call for the firing of Dr. Anthony Fauci. You took the opportunity to encourage Americans to get vaccinated while sharing the stage with other Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are telling people not to get the vaccine. Do you think that mixed messaging adds to the confusion?
Well, you want to talk about misinformation. Keep in mind that Vice President Harris is the one who said she would never take a vaccine that was originated under the Trump administration.
I'm talking about you with your colleagues right there who are standing there. Yeah, that's what I'm asking you about. Does it give mixed messages? And we've talked about the Kamala Harris, what she said back then, a lot. So this is what I'm focused on now.
Understood. And certainly Representative Greene has every right to her opinion. I respect her opinion. I don't agree with it. I would rather have the vaccine than the virus, as I've said numerous times. The vaccine is safe and effective. I encourage everyone to get it. But it should be a decision made by individuals after consultation with their family and their physicians.
Okay, so I want to actually go to what President Trump, he released a statement today, the former President Trump, seeming to defend the mistrust that we're talking about here. And here's what he said, saying people that, quote, are refusing to take the vaccine because they don't trust his administration, they don't trust the election results, and they certainly don't trust the fake news, which is refusing to tell you the truth. We should note you did vote to overturn the results of the presidential election. Do you agree with Trump that there is a connection between not believing the election results and being vaccine hesitant?
Well, I think the point that the president was trying to get across is that there's so much mistrust out there, not just in the vaccines, not just in the election process, but they're just in the media as a whole. And that's the point he's trying to make. It's not that, oh, if you didn't trust the election results, then you shouldn't trust the vaccine. No, that's not it at all. I think the greater point that's trying to be made here is the mistrust and the information that we're getting from the media. That's the key here.
Okay, so let me just ask you this. So on the vaccines, do you think, I just want to reiterate this, do you think people should be listening to news hosts and to politicians who don't have a medical background, or should they listen to medical professionals, to their doctors, to pharmacists like yourself on whether they should take the vaccine?
No question about it. Look, healthcare in general depends on having confidence in your providers, and that is the key. That's why, you know, if you like your doctor, then you can keep, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. That's why that's so important, because confidence in your healthcare provider, that's half of the win right there. That's half of the victory, making sure that you're confident that this is going to work. If you go into something thinking it's not going to work, it's probably not going to work. But
exactly.
If you do
so you're saying, So, okay, so you're saying basically the source of information is very important. Where people get their information in order to know whether they should trust the vaccine is very important. So I want to apply that on the election. Do you think people should listen to politicians or the nearly 100 judges across the political spectrum, the Republican and Democratic election officials that certified the election, and administration officials who agree there's no evidence of widespread fraud in the election? Who should people listen to there?
I think you're getting into apples and oranges here, and I think there's a danger there that you're going to come out with bananas. This has nothing to do with the vaccine.
No, this is about the source of information.
But to your point, look, I've always said that the problem in the election certification was that the changes in these states, in state of Georgia and Arizona and Michigan, were made by the executive branch and made by the judicial branch and not by the legislative branch that they should have been made by. The recent ruling in the Arizona case is a perfect example of where even President Carter at one time said that the biggest problem, the biggest potential for cheating in elections is through absentee ballots. And even he said that, and that was part of the reasoning for the Arizona decision there.
Okay, let me just, if you're going to apply that principle, I'm a big fan of just applying the same principle across the board, then that same principle would have to apply in the other states that Trump won, North Carolina, Texas, Ohio. It also wasn't in the state law. The executives went around that. But if you look at, the voter fraud and so forth and the amount of it, if you look at that, it's less than 0.001%, meaning the election itself, from what we know, all the evidence, everything that's been put forward, was like 99.99% successful with eligible voters having their voices heard through their vote. That's pretty good, is it not?
What I know is this, is that the changes that were made to the election process in the state of Georgia were made by the executive branch without the approval of the legislative branch. And our Constitution is perfectly clear that it should be made by the legislative branch. That's why I applaud the Georgia State Legislature for the Election Integrity Act that makes voting easier and cheating harder. What happened in Arizona, what happened in Pennsylvania, those were made by the judicial branch, not by the legislative branch. I think that's the whole key here.
Okay, and I understand, and there's I'm not going to sit here with you and just go into all the weeds on all this, but of course the law in Georgia, it does give the Secretary of State leeway. You argue, though, that he shouldn't have signed the memorandum and so forth. I get what you're saying, but the bottom line here is that all these judges, all of these election and administration officials, Republican, Democrat, they all said this election was safe and secure. And so should people listen to that versus politicians who may have an interest in staying in power?
People have the right to listen to who they want to listen to. And you're trying to demonize politicians here. We're making a point.
I'm not trying to demonize. No, I'm not demonizing politicians. I'm not. I'm just saying as sources of information on important issues like the vaccine. You said they should listen to their doctors, not what politicians with no medical background are saying. Okay.
Absolutely. There's no question about that. They should listen to their doctors. And again, I think we're getting apples and oranges here. The point of objecting to the election integrity and to the election certification was that the changes that were made led to the potential for cheating in the state of Georgia. The changes that were made were not made by the legislative branch, as our Constitution says they should be. The changes that were made by the judicial branch and the executive branches, and that's not the way our Constitution has us.
Okay. We could talk a lot more about this, Congressman Buddy Carter, but you can't divorce from the context as well. When you voted to decertify those results in the two states, that was against a backdrop of a sitting president saying the election was stolen, that the people's voices weren't counting, that their vote didn't count. So it was against that backdrop, which is different. And also, doesn't it raise into question all the Republicans who won in these states? States like your state of Georgia, does it not call into question whether you won legitimately then based on that logic?
And I would present to you, if that's the case, why are we even doing the certification in Congress? If we're not supposed to object, why don't we just accept it by unanimous consent? That's what we're supposed to be doing, and that's what I was doing, and if I had to do over 100 times again, I'd do it the same way, because the people of the state of Georgia felt like there was cheating and the results were not correct. So I stand by my decision. If I had it to do over again, I'd do it over just the way I did it.
Okay, Congressman Buddy Carter, thanks for coming on the show. Really important discussion there. I do appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.